Today's episode was recorded in Munich, in Westwing's hometown, one of Europe's most distinctive digital success stories in home and living. What began as a digital pure play has evolved into a premium design-led brand with its own products, strong collaborations, growing physical retail presence, and a clear focus on profitability and long-term value. My guest today is Andreas Hoerning. He's the CEO of Westwing. Andreas has spent more than 10 years driving results at the company and brings a career that spans over 2 decades, from co-founding a startup to leading Westwing through one of the most disciplined transformations in European e-commerce. Today, we unpack Westwing's journey, the thinking behind the stores and premiumization, what is next for the business, and how Andreas' international experience has shaped the way he leads. Here's Paula Macaggi, and this is episode 102 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Andreas, welcome to OFFBounds. So happy to be in Munich with you.
Thank you, Paula, for coming to Munich, and I'm very honored to be on your show.
Well, I am very honored because I think you have a fantastic story here to tell us. Let's start with Westwing. I think we have people from all over the world, 38 countries listen to us. They may not be so familiar with Westwing. Why don't you explain to us what is the brand?
Super happy to do so. So Westwing, we call ourselves the Beautiful Living Company. So we are a design-led brand and one-stop destination for design lovers. So what does that mean? Design-led brand. The centerpiece of what we do is our own product brand. That's the Westwing collection. So we have an in-house design team. We work with external designers. We have an engineering team that looks for quality and sustainability and so forth. So that's design-led brand. We are a brand because what we do hopefully touches our customers emotionally also. We are a one-stop destination because next to the Westwing collection, we also have the most desirable third-party brands on our website. So we have predominantly Scandinavian and Italian brands, but also brands from other countries we also have on our website. So we serve our target customer, those are design lovers, in the best possible way. So our target customer are people that want to have a beautiful home. They're also ready to spend a bit more on it, but not in the sense of luxury. So I don't know, sofas for 30, 50,000 euros. That's not our target customer.
It's like me, when you start outgrowing cheap brands and you want something more expressive.
You want something more expressive, and you do mix and match, right? So because there might be something, I don't know, in a guest room, maybe you don't have the same elaborate taste than in the lounge room and things like that. You might combine a piece that you won from a designer that you really love or a brand that you love with something else that is more white label and so forth. So we have people that, as customers, that mix and match a lot, and that you can see in this one-stop destination. And with that, we serve customers in 22 countries, so not as many countries as you have listeners in. 22 countries in continental Europe. Last year, so 2024, we did a revenue of roughly 440 million with that, and we're based out of Munich, where we are right now.
Amazing. Yeah, great city to be inspired by. But I think Westwing wasn't always like that. There was some chapters in the story of Westwing where you started as a pure player, right? What were the main steps of getting to where we are?
Yeah, happy to elaborate. So I think the Westwing DNA has always been about beautiful living, curation, and inspiration. So that has stayed the same throughout the journey. Westwing was founded in 2011 by Delia and Stefan and their co-founders. And the idea back then was to have a shoppable magazine. So Delia even came from the world of magazines. So instead of just, launching a new website, putting a list of products there, they actually decided, okay, let's do it differently. Let's do it in an inspirational way. So if you show products, then put them in themes, for instance. How do you live in Ibiza, for instance? And then create a theme and you can directly shop the products. And that was put into a flash sale model, so a newsletter every day. That's how Westwing started and actually grew very fast, including to Brazil and other continents beyond Americas and Europe also. What were the next important steps? I'd say 2015, Westwing we started building a private label brand. That was also the time when I joined and started building this with the team.
And that was about 10 years ago?
That is about 10 years. That's now nearly 11 years ago, exactly. So that's when I joined and we started building what is today the Westwing collection, so our product brand. Next steps, fast forward maybe IPO 2018 on the stock exchange, which became important later. I'll say in a second why. Then COVID. COVID was crazy for everything commerce. E-commerce boomed, so including Westwing, we got incredible number of customers and orders and so forth.
And also like people were spending a lot of time at home thinking like, oh, maybe I should get a new couch.
Precisely. So it was incredible. Offline was partially closed. Everyone was at home, exactly as you say. Plus, you didn't have discretionary spending on travels and on restaurants and so forth as much as beforehand. So you also had money to spend. So that was a boom. But after that, obviously comes the bust, because people then had already spent a lot of money on their homes.
They already renovated their home.
And then everyone wanted to travel and go out to restaurants and see friends, etc. So that was actually a very tricky situation then for a lot of commerce, especially e-commerce and home and living more than others. And that was a time when we decided we needed to change something. That was a time when I took over as CEO from my predecessor, Stefan, who was the founder CEO. And at that point in time, we decided we needed to change more than just a little facelift or getting costs under control. I think that was a very decisive year. We'll probably talk about that in a second. And then I think this year 2025 has been pretty formative for us, because we expanded to 10 new countries. We opened 7 new stores, things that we hadn't done beforehand.
Nice. And you joined almost 11 years ago.
Yep.
But you became the CEO in
2022 and mid 2022.
2022 is when like the curve was starting to.
Yes, at that point in time, exactly. So at the probably most difficult point in time of Westwing in its history, because we were burning cash massively. We knew we had to change something about that.
So this was like a tough reality that you came across, and like, this is what we have to fix.
Yes, very tough reality. We were burning cash. We had to change something about that. We also realized that our commercial model, so that the flash sales model that we talked about beforehand, was not profitable and structurally was not going to bring us forward enough. It did back in the days, but then things changed, right? And then you have to adapt. And the third thing that we also realized was that a lot of the infrastructure that we actually had in place, so the software, etc., was also outdated and wouldn't serve the needs of the future.
So there was a tech transformation included in the...
Also, exactly. So those were the harsh realities that we faced in 2022. And I laid out the plan to the supervisory board. They fortunately agreed. And then we started executing on this plan. The beauty was that we had, at that point in time, also a fantastic team, all the potential in the world to actually do this transformation. We had the team, and we also had the brand and the customers to a certain extent. So we had always this DNA that we could then build upon to transform the company to a next level. And we also had a part of the customer base that we needed for this next level. So those were the positive sides also in 2022 in that very difficult situation that we were in.
Yeah. So, but like you, as you're explaining, you double down on your own design and premiumizing the offers you have. What gave you the conviction that this was the right direction?
Yeah, it was quite a change. Always sticking to the DNA. So beautiful living, curation, inspiration. But we said we're going to premiumize the offering, as you said, and focus a lot more on design, on our own design brand, on others. So with the conviction of one, data, we already had customers that valued that a lot and were ready to spend more on it. And those were our profitable customers, actually.
Especially because you're online too. So you have a lot,
Precisely. You have a lot of data.
Yeah,
exactly. You have a lot of data. So we looked at that and we said, we have part of the customer base is there. We can take it there. So that we had. And then the other part that you need besides data is always belief. You can't make important decisions without gut feel in the end, without belief. And the belief is that in the end, when you look at it from a sustainable business model perspective, margin follows differentiation. You have to have something that is different to what the others have. And you need to sometimes also redefine it on the way and shift a bit because circumstances change. Right?
It's like you're almost saying that there is this art to it. It's like not the science. The data is the science, but there's this intuition and this gut feeling. I love this word.
Yeah, but I think for anyone who runs anything that is important for others, that has customers, especially when it's connected to emotions and so forth, I think and anything commerce generally. I think you need that. Without that, you can't really run a business, I think.
Yeah, and you became profitable recently, right?
Yes, that's true. So we kind of managed the turnaround over the last 3 years. This year is going to be 2025 is going to be the first year where we are clearly cash positive. So we are listed on the stock exchange. So we also give guidance. So that's why I can say what we say there, right? And we said that we would be at 6 to 8% adjusted EBITDA this year towards the upper end. So that's going to be clearly profitable, and we're very, very happy about it.
So with all the effort and you understanding to shift the business in 2022 is paying off.
It's paying off, yes, because of the hard decisions that we took. So the most important decisions we took were actually to change this business model, move the permanent assortment and the Westwing collection to the forefront, put the flash sales model to the back. We also merged websites, we merged apps, etc., etc. We centralized the business, and most importantly, we said clearly no to unprofitable top line. That was
so you basically had to prioritize what the business was.
We gave up a lot. We gave up a lot because we knew that part of the customer base that we had wouldn't move to the new world. Part of it would. And we gave up actually a three-digit million euro top line for this shift. And of course, you couldn't be 100% certain that it would work out and that you would be able to replace one part of the top line with another. So that was that situation.
Did you lose some sleep?
Definitely. Definitely over, not just me, I think big parts of the team, over kind of the thinking about it. And then also, of course, the hard work that we all put into making this change happen over the last 3 years. Yeah.
But then I think there's another challenge there, because if you're so focused on costs and operational efficiency, how do you balance the creativity and the art of what makes the business it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And obviously, when you have the necessity to focus on costs, because otherwise you're just gonna, the company might actually disappear. And at the same point in time, you want to put a model in place that focuses even more on it, then obviously you have to bring both things together. And there's a saying, it's not mine, but I love the saying, creativity without discipline is art, and discipline without creativity is commodity. So we wanted to neither have art nor commodity. We actually wanted to have something that works for us, that brings this beautiful living company to life. So that's how we brought it together. And it's more a cultural thing. It's more a mindset thing than anything else, I think.
Yeah, but one thing is you having this mindset. The other thing is sending this mindset to the organization and making everybody believe in this balance.
Precisely. And I think Westwing always had that in the DNA, but we had to strengthen it even and then make it clear. We put a new culture code, for instance, in place to make it even clearer, talked about it a lot. But for instance, when you're winning, when actually, let's say, a team like the supply chain team actually comes with very creative ideas in order to solve supply chain topics. So creativity is not just in the traditional creative, exactly, the traditional creative functions like design and so forth. Creativity we also need in the other functions. You win when a finance team, when a controlling team understands that certain parts of marketing you can't directly measure with what is the uplift in top line here, but you actually have to look at other parts of data that give indications for it, and the other part is then left to interpretation. And you win when a traditionally creative team comes and says, we actually found a way to do this more efficiently. So you win when these things come together. And I think I think this is what we've been working on, and it looks like it's working out. Yeah.
Is that when you start feeling like, everything that I sold, the idea that I sold is working actually?
Yeah. At least we see that parts of what we did are working already. So definitely the part about creativity and profitability, those two things we definitely see, because we've been able to partner, for instance, with such amazing brands and individuals. For instance, this year, we've been able to move forward in profitability, as we just discussed. I think
this is a major milestone.
It is a major milestone. Yeah. It's a major milestone, not just for investors, but for everyone, right? Yeah. It allows us to invest. We couldn't invest into, for instance, offline stores, etc., if we didn't have the cash, etc., etc. No, but it's really important that we move on and that we make that happen. The frontiers that are still out there we need to return in our core markets still to proper growth. And we want to continue to build the super brand in design. That is our vision. And that will keep us busy over the next years to come. So we've made part of it, yes, but there's still some frontiers actually to conquer.
Yeah, you never really relax, right?
No.
Like if you relax, you're already getting behind. Yeah. And you mentioned something that is very interesting. Your offline channels. You started opening stores. Why don't you tell us why you made the decision and is it working?
Yeah, so is it working? Probably too early to tell, but let me go to the rationale. So the rationale stems from what I said beforehand. We're a design-led brand. And the centerpiece of what we do is our own product brand, the Westwing Collection. And when you have a brand that's built on design, it's built on comfort, on quality, on sustainability, you have to give your customers the chance to experience it, also physically. It's because of the products themselves. It's because home and living is also a vertical where touching, feeling, etc. is more important than in many other categories. Also
because it's emotion, right?
Yes.
You're going to be in somebody's home.
Yeah, exactly.
I personally like to touch and see and sit down and
Absolutely. The sofa many times is the centerpiece of a home. And if that's not to the liking of the people that are using it, right, both in sense of design and in terms of comfort and quality and so forth, then it's not going to be good. So that's the main rationale. But of course, it goes also beyond that. It's relevant for brand, right? It's how do people experience your brand offline? And that gives you more touch points. You need as many touch points as possible with your customers, right? And the physical world gives us the possibility to also tell customers what we kind of feel like in reality, including to what the scent is of Westwing, because we developed the scent for our stores and things like that. So that's the rationale of it. Is it working? As I said, too early to tell. We have 9 physical locations now. So we opened our first store actually in 2022 as a trial, then a store-in-store in 2024, and this year actually 7 new ones. So let's see where it takes us.
Yeah, it's almost like marketing channel as well. So we start saying hey, I like this. Let me see. Let me go to their website and something like that. I think that's how the customer acquisition might happen also when you have offline locations.
Absolutely. So we of course, besides thinking about what does Westwing feel like, smell like, etc. when it's offline, we also obviously measure many things. We measure KPIs, obviously what we do in the store itself. But we also measure what you said, the marketing effect of it actually. So we measure, for instance, or try to measure the online uplift in the catchment area where we have a store. So when we definitely see that, and because we have the store, we also have more online orders. And that is obviously an effect of some people walking into the store, having seen something there and then ordering it from home. But it's also the effects of just walking past the store, maybe having a glimpse into it and discovering Westwing for the first time, or being reminded of it, definitely.
For you, as a digital brand, a digital native brand, going to offline, I think in digital, you have so many data. You understand 100% the behavior of people on a website. And then going to offline where things are not that easy to track, right? How was as you're so data-driven digitally, how was creating the offline experience? Can you measure?
Very hard.
Yeah.
As you can imagine. No, seriously, very hard, because we know pretty much what Westwing looks like online, on Instagram, etc. But when we asked ourselves, what does Westwing look like actually in the real world? That was a difficult question to ask, and we're still trying to answer it. And then you learn. We actually started with our store design 1.0, then 2.0, now we're at 3.0 that we're going to implement next year. So we actually evolve and we try to find out every day what it actually looks like, what it feels like, etc. More and more. And well, already in the digital world, we always had the side of data and we had the side of intuition, of creativity, etc. That's why maybe transporting that to the real world from a structural perspective was not that new, but still finding out it. And the interesting part then over the next years will actually be, how will that go back into the digital world? And that's super interesting when you think about, for instance, what will Westwing look like online in 2 years' time or 3 years' time? We actually, with the help of AI, we're going to start introducing something that helps you to find out what you actually want to, how you want to furnish your home, etc. really exists out there, but it's not at a level right now yet where you can say this is exactly what customers want. But what we actually try to do is we try to replicate situations that we see in the offline world. So how do customers interact with our store assistants, for instance, with our design service personnel? And we try to learn from that and bring it back into the digital world with the help of AI. So these are really interesting.
It's like collecting the feedbacks and segmenting it using AI.
What are the questions? What are the discussions that you have with a sales assistant in a store, and then looking at, okay, so how can I replicate that online?
And we are today is December 19th that we were recording this, so people are going to listen in 2026 already. We are closing a very special year, profitable year for the company. How is 26? What are you planning? We know that I have some stores coming up. We know that there's AI coming up. What is next?
What's next? What's 2026 and beyond? Yeah. So for the past 3 years, as we just discussed, right, we focused on commercial model, on assortment, on a new marketing model, and focused a lot on profitability. And next year, we're going to do mainly 2 things where we focus on. So one is growth. It's actually about making the new model really work in terms of top line. I'll get to that in a second. And the second thing is continue to build a super brand in design. That's our vision. That's what we want to achieve in the next few years. So in terms of growth, it's a lot about, so we lost a lot of top line, as I said. And now it's a lot about, okay, making from this basis that we have now, making that work again in the existing markets. That means, for instance, working with the stores on increasing the share of wallet with our customers and gaining new customers. And then we opened all these new countries also. So making those new countries work next year. So for instance, we went to Sweden. And of course, the business is still super tiny in Sweden, but we got really good reactions in social media, over PR, etc. And we see the first traction in Sweden. So it's going to be interesting. We need to nurture that and see how it develops next year. So make that successful. So both in existing markets and in new markets. And then when you talk about super brand and design, what is that even? The goal for us is that if a design lover in Europe, in a few years' time, thinks of making their place more beautiful and are willing to spend a little bit more on it, and if the first thing that comes to their mind is Westwing, then I think that's the point where we've achieved super brand and design status. And of course, there's a lot more to it, right? Recognition from the opinion leaders, etc., etc. But that's what we're working towards. That's our mission. And next year we're going to work on that again, asking us which assortment do we need, what services do we need, how we're going to develop our design service further, etc., etc., etc. So growth and super brand and design are 2 topics for 2026.
And I wonder, just going back a little bit, the company exists since 2011, and now we are 2026 almost. So it's almost like your customer base have grown with you too.
Yes, the customer base has grown with us. It's exactly as you said. I think before we actually started recording, right? You said that how your taste and so forth and your preferences have evolved, and I think it very much also applies to our customer base and also to myself actually when I look at it, right? So, and I think we could basically evolve our assortment and our approach together with our customers in a way. I absolutely agree with that.
So it's almost like the millennials are telling you what they want and you're delivering.
And over time, you learn which special pieces you want to have, what's important to you, etc., etc. And you also change that over time, of course, right? So we did that, and we also acquired many new customers on the way that find it appealing what we're doing. Yeah.
Amazing. And one of the things that called me a lot of attention in you is that you lived everywhere. You lived in many places. How this diversity shaped you in your career?
Yeah. So yes, I've kind of been around as you
tell us more. Tell us where you lived.
So I actually grew up here. I grew up in Munich. My father's German, my mother's Australian. So that was obviously has always been a big part of family life, etc. To go to Australia to have our family visiting us. I've lived in South America. I've lived in Asia. I worked a lot in Africa, in many places across Europe. So. Yes, I think that has shaped me, I think, to a very large extent. How does it influence how I act today? I think in many ways that I probably don't even know. I hope that it's mostly to the positive. I can maybe just make a hypothesis or maybe a hope how it could influence in the best way. And that is that you actually, when you see other worlds, when you see other things done in a different way, you actually realize that there's not just one way of doing it. You realize that there are many ways of doing it. Which ways to apply depends on the circumstance, depends on where you want to get to, depends on the people, and so many things. So if I learned anything on the way and are able to apply it, I hope that it is to understand that there's not just one way to do it and be open for different approaches. Hopefully.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I can see, well, I lived in a few places too.
Me too.
And I can see that it just shapes how I approach things. I can, like, nothing is wrong. Everything is a hypothesis that could be considered.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you grew up in Brazil, you live in New York, and you're in Europe a lot, right?
Yeah, lived in Italy, everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in Germany.
Yeah.
But my German is not that good. Yeah. What is interesting is that you started, you went from co-founding a startup to becoming the CEO of Westwing 20 years later. How those experiences, what have you learned on these experiences that helped you take the transformation for Westwing?
Yeah. I think all the personal, private, and all the job experience, right, they shape us in a specific way. And I think when I look back at my career, co-founding a small, very small travel startup before starting university, or just when starting university, actually. So that teaches you to deal with chaos. It teaches you to deal with 100% responsibility. Then I worked in consulting for a while, and it taught me what the highest expectations look like. It taught me a lot about what ultra structural work actually looks like, and to deal with data. Then coming to Westwing and working a lot with creative people taught me a lot about how important gut feel decisions and how important emotions and feelings are in business. So I think, learning that along the way was an incredible privilege, and I am sure there's a lot more to learn on the journey. Yeah.
That's a fascinating story, actually, because a startup is so, you do everything, right? Like, you are the accountant, the business leader, the marketing, the CEO.
Yes, precisely. Yeah. So I think even when
and then you have a structure, and then you have emotion. It's like a perfect combination.
Hopefully, you'd have to ask my team and my investors, and it depends also on what kind of a business you're building, what team you have, etc. What is important, right, for you to apply. But I think for me at the moment, this combination is actually something that's valuable and that I try to apply in my everyday work.
Amazing. Yeah. And what is your advice to future CEOs going through a transformation?
My advice to future CEOs, going through transformations, probably especially important, but maybe also a more general advice is speak to the teams. Also to the broader teams. When you're a CEO, and Westwing is not a terribly large company, but we do have around 1,250 employees. And so speaking to the broader team for me has always been a very, very important way of leading a team, leading a company. So in transformations, that's especially important because we've been doing things for a certain way. Now we want to do things in a different way. And if you don't talk to it, your executive team, they will understand very fast because you talk to them every day. The VPs, they will also understand because they are a lot in touch with the executives that are very close to where the strategy is actually being made. But speak to the broader team, because the point is everyone at Westwing and in other companies, they're all taking decisions every day in their functions, on their levels, etc. And you can't align everything up front. You can't spend, if you spend all your day in alignment meetings, then you're not going to get anything done. So you need to have an invisible way of alignment that all these micro decisions that have been taken, that they work out as a whole. And for me, one of the most powerful tools has been for me as a CEO to communicate a lot with the broader team. We do that obviously in monthly all hands, where I and other leaders share a lot about what's going on in the company. We do this in culture days and things like that. And we do this, or I do this actually, every year. When we come up with a strategy for the next year, I actually spend a lot of time discussing with all the teams. So this October to December, I did 30 sessions, around 30 sessions with about 30 people each. So I went through nearly the whole company to discuss actually our 2026 strategy. Got a lot of feedback and had a lot of really, really good discussions. And I think
it's very important to have the smaller groups than just speaking to everyone. So everybody feel free to.
That's a question also of taste, of course. But for me, it works super well to have smaller groups where everyone also dares to speak up. and where you can have the personal connection. So speak about what you want to change, speak about what you want to keep. This is super, super critical to do this also with a broader team, not just with the executive team or your VPs. That's my, I think, number one advice I would say to CEOs, if I can give any.
Yeah, amazing. Great story. Thanks so much for sharing your life experience with us and how you brought it to Westwing. I can't wait to shop there. I should go to the store.
Thank you so much, Paula. Please do. You're in Munich, so you're most invited to actually come and see.
Absolutely.